our discussion will be on air pollution. Means first of all quality of air, then pollution of air, atmospheric pollution. And so when we talk about air and atmosphere, let's get some basic things correct. These all data we will understand. So deterioration of the quality of the atmosphere means deterioration of the quality of the air. We are all worried about the air portion of the atmosphere, okay? And how do you deteriorate it? You are a very superhuman being who is being riding motor vehicles like anything. Industries have come up like anything. So all that you, and then you are you want real estate, that is buildings to develop. So you are going on cutting trees. As a result, you are increasing gases which promote greenhouse effect. So the story is going to hover around these particular things. So let's have a quick look at atmosphere. Nobody's going to ask you this data. Atmosphere usually is spread over around 100 kilometers. Okay. What is more important for us is only the troposphere part, because our air is more or less condensed in this region. As we go higher and higher, the air becomes thinner and thinner. This chapter, we are going to talk more about the atmosphere and its fact. Although the atmosphere is around 100 kilometers, the troposphere is the part which is significant for us. And if you take a sample of dry air from the troposphere, what do you find maximum in it? Nitrogen. I hope a couple of things you should know as general knowledge. The element which is present maximum in the atmosphere is nitrogen in Earth. The element which is present maximum in the universe is hydrogen, sun and all, right? And the element which is present maximum on the Earth's crust is aluminum, bauxite in the form of, okay. So you have nitrogen, around 21% what we have is oxygen, then comes argon, one of the inert gases, and carbon dioxide, and then balance are all inert gases which are very trace. For us, important will be the nitrogen part. Oxygen definitely we need to breathe. What is more alarming, and I want you all to pay attention on that part, is on this fellow, the carbon dioxide. If you look, carbon dioxide is showing 0.04. This is very updated in your book. Carbon dioxide was around 0.03 in Earth. 0.04 is a substantial increase, which means I hope you are aware of all these climatic conditions, like the average temperature of the Earth over the last 30 years has increased. So 1 degree increase is very dangerous, even average temperature, what we are saying. So this used to be 0.03. 0.03 becoming 0.04 means the presence of carbon dioxide has increased. So why did the presence of carbon dioxide increase? Was more carbon dioxide pumped into the atmosphere, or was there carbon dioxide in the atmosphere which was not sucked out? Are you understanding? There is a product in the atmosphere which can be pumped in, or it can be sucked out. Whenever that imbalance is created, we will find that the balance which should be there has got impacted. Are you able to understand what I'm saying? That entire cycle is known as carbon cycle. We saw water cycle, we saw nitrogen cycle. Now we will concentrate on something called carbon cycle. Let's just understand what happens. Very easy for us to understand. So if we look from here, photosynthesis, a process in which plants, what happened? Give me a minute. Yeah, a process in which plants use carbon dioxide. What are the inputs for photosynthesis? Carbon dioxide, which the plant traps from the atmosphere, and water, which is trapped from the root of the plants. And for photosynthesis to happen, you always need sunlight in the form of energy, and you need a catalyst which is known as chlorophyll. Photosynthesis is undergone only by green plants. Please understand that. Achha, photosynthesis is endothermic or exothermic? Takes in energy, endothermic. Okay, it's an endothermic. And it gives out something called glucose, which the plant utilizes. That's in the form of glucose, means in the form of starch, and oxygen. Now look at the balance. Whatever we are breathing out, when we try to understand this, when we respire, we are releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, right? That is number one. Everything that you burn as fossil fuels, coal, even petroleum, all these are releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This carbon dioxide is taken in by the plants, right? Apart from that, whenever the plants, they undergo decay, they again form carbon products, which is like coal. And these animals and plants, they die, they also decay, and carbon goes in this form. So this carbon is picked up. Have you understood now? Now, if you find that there is more carbon dioxide getting what you call carbon in the form of carbon dioxide having an increasing balance, then unwanted things keep on happening. Okay, if this balance is increasing, that means somebody either is releasing more carbon dioxide or somebody is not absorbing carbon dioxide. And two very good findings that come to us is we are burning much more carbon fuels, which we will be studying in this chapter. So we are releasing more carbon into the atmosphere, which we call as carbon footprint. All of you, like say, suppose if you take an aeroplane journey for an office meeting, which could be done over a video conference, what do we say? That by doing this conference on IT companies do that. They give you a data that by doing this video conference, you save so much of carbon footprint, right? Now, and you're undergoing, you're carrying out deforestation at a large scale. So the guy who absorbs carbon dioxide, the count of that particular agent is reducing, that is trees, and the people who promote carbon dioxide, that is again increasing. That is your activities. Have you understood? So one of the reaction which comes in this chapter is that you should, and this is photosynthesis, reverse of it is known as respiration, right? Now, imbalance of carbon cycle, which is 0.03 to 0.04, is happening due to burning of fossil fuels, number one, and deforestation. As you deforest, what are you doing? You are now impacting the climate of the earth, and that is by promoting something called greenhouse effect. We'll read that in detail in this chapter. And greenhouse effect is doing what? It is increasing the average temperature of the earth, causing climatic changes, which is known as global warming. Means the earth will be much more warmer. We are not even into the half of February right now. In fact, this year, right from start of February, it has been too hot out here. Don't you feel that? This is exactly a sense of global warming. And if global warming goes on, then what happens? The polar ice starts melting and low-lying areas undergo the threat of floods. In fact, there are many islands which are there in and around the Australian region which are getting into the water year after year. Even they say Bombay is under a threat also for some parts to get inside water. And what can you tell me? What is the any positive part of global warming? No, not ecosystem. Places like Greenland and others are having tourism now. Arctic people are under Greenland is having tourism, right? Iceland is having tourism, right? So let's go ahead. Now, atmospheric pollution. In order to understand, so have you understood about the greenhouse, the carbon cycle? Is this clear? Tell me, is there anything that you have not understood? Carbon cycle means, carbon cycle tells you how much, what is the cycle of carbon in this form of how much of carbon is released into the atmosphere and how much carbon is absorbed. One of the major form of carbon is carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxides are released by what? Respiration, human beings, and also released by burning of fossil fuels. Any fossil fuel that you burn, hydrocarbons that you burn, they're all going to release carbon dioxide. And who are absorbing carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide are being absorbed by plants. And also when these animals and plants when they decay, they form coal. Animals and living beings, when they decay, they'll always form petroleum, and this petroleum is again mined. So this is the cycle of carbon. With this cycle in the earth, the presence of carbon dioxide was 0.03%, which is now become 0.04, which means that there is an imbalance that has happened, and this imbalance is going to raise the temperature of the earth. Chale, aage chalte hain. Now we talk about atmospheric pollution. So atmosphere, our atmosphere is more important to us for the part of air. And in air, we have got one of our gas, which is very important for us, which is oxygen, right? Also, there are, see, when we talk about atmospheric pollution, here we'll be talking more about the pollution that we are creating in air. Another type of atmospheric pollution is also the ozone layer depletion. I hope you know that. Once you create holes in the ozone layer, you are allowing harmful radiations also to creep across, which are highly cancerous to us and causes leukemia, right? So atmospheric pollution, the best way to remember it is that whenever fossil fuels undergo combustion, they will be releasing oxides of carbon, oxides of nitrogen, and oxides of sulfur. When you talk about oxides of carbon, we have two oxides of carbon: carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. Carbon monoxide is something which is created due to insufficient supply of oxygen. Something had to burn fully, it did not burn fully, so carbon monoxide will be created. Are you understanding? Whenever you say monoxide, it means that the combustion process did not happen properly. Like say in villages, we say that they use firewood, and that's not good for the health because firewood is burning under lack of oxygen. As a result, carbon monoxide is produced, which the person is also inhaling, and that is not good for health. Okay, so when you talk about oxides of carbon, we have got two oxides: carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. When you talk about oxides of sulfur, we speak about only one oxide, which is sulfur dioxide, SO2. So shall I write them? One is CO, one is CO2. In sulfur, it is SO2. Oxides of nitrogen, we have nitrogen monoxide and nitrogen dioxide. Okay, if you see the oxidation state out here of nitrogen will be 2, because oxygen is -2, this should be 2. So in your book, it will be written as nitrogen 2 oxide. And this is nitrogen 4 oxide. Did you understand 2 and 4 how it came? Oxygen's valency is -2, so nitrogen should be +2. So the oxidation state of nitrogen in NO is 2. So this will be written as nitrogen Roman 2 oxide. This will be written as nitrogen Roman 4 oxide, because you have got 2 oxygen, each oxygen -2, so -4. In order to make it neutral, nitrogen should be +4. Srinika, did you understand this? Okay, right, fine. So we'll discuss each of this one by one. Now, let's talk about carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is something which is going to be emitted any fossil fuel that we burn. What are the fossil fuels we are burning? Everything, right from coal, massive. Every power plant is running on coal, unless and until you have got nuclear power plants. Out here in India, we have very coal-based power plants, US coal-based power plants. Okay, so once you have coal-based power plants, so you will be releasing carbon dioxide. All the hydrocarbons that you burn, right from LPG to everything, firewood, whatever you're burning, you're releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Now, higher levels of carbon dioxide means carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Okay, I need to explain this as we go, not wait till the last part. What is a greenhouse gas? Let's first understand greenhouse effect. To understand greenhouse effect, you should understand what is called a glass house effect. You know, to grow crops in cold areas, heat was required. So what they did, they created a glass box, and the glass box could trap the heat inside. Even if you are in a glass room, you lock up the room and don't open doors and windows, don't you feel warm inside? So the crops could grow. That is known as glass house effect. Try to put the same thing for your earth. The earth receives radiation from the sun, and it absorbs some radiation, and some radiation it will be sending back. Now, if you have some agents in your atmosphere who absorb more than that you want, then obviously your temperature will go up. Carbon dioxide is one such gas which absorbs and retains much more of the radiation, the heat. So if the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases, then what is happening? The amount of heat that is retained by the Earth's atmosphere is much more. As a result, a glass house-like effect is done, and this is called a greenhouse effect. And the gases which actually promote this sort of heat entrapment is known as greenhouse gas. Carbon dioxide is not the only greenhouse gas. Methane is also a very big greenhouse gas. Where does methane come from? Burning of natural gases got methane. So all these living the livestock that we have, livestock farming animals, when they are digesting, they're releasing methane continuously. Decay of all your landfills and everything are releasing methane. So methane is also a big promoter to greenhouse gases, not big promoter to greenhouse effect, because it's itself a greenhouse gas. So carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. If the extent of carbon dioxide increases, there's a higher level of carbon dioxide will lead to global warming. What is the measure that you can use? Burn less of fossil fuel. Now these are very debatable. You have got a lot of protocols that have been signed. There's a lot of battle which happens with the developed and developing countries. The developed countries have met their energy requirement. So you will see every time there is a summit that goes on, the Earth Summit, there will be some people who will wear black badges. So they say that don't burn fossil fuels. But what about countries like us? We also need to develop. So there have been protocols like Kyoto Protocol, Paris Accord. So they'll say that to have a sustainable Earth and all, burn less of fossil fuels. Many countries sign, many don't sign, because otherwise the industry doesn't move on. Carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is actually a product which is coming out due to incomplete combustion. Remember this. Whenever you burn any fossil fuel or any fuel that has got carbon, but you have not burnt it completely, means your combustion process is not efficient. Like say firewood when we are burning. Even in our vehicles, the vehicles that we have, nowadays our vehicles come with a system called catalytic converter fitted on this. And it's not started now, it started way back in 1999. Catalytic converters were must. The legislation said that you should have it. Before catalytic converters came, there will always used to be unburned carbon. So carbon monoxide will come out. And carbon monoxide, not only will carbon monoxide come out, what did we learn? Air has got nitrogen and oxygen in it. Okay, let's understand what happens in a car cylinder. So if you have got a petrol vehicle, in a petrol vehicle, there is a device which is known as carburetor. Nowadays, you don't get it in car anymore. Bikes and scooters you will still get, but the BS6 ones you'll not get. Any motorcycle which you switch on and the headlight is turned on even on daytime. I hope you know that there are some scooters where the headlight is turned on daytime. Those are BS6 or Euro 6. They don't have carburetors. If you go to the backdated scooters or the bikes, the Maruti 800s before 1999, they have a carburetor. So in carburetor, what happens? Air and fuel mix together. You'll be in the ratio of 1:8. So when you take air, air has got what? Nitrogen and oxygen. Then combustion happens inside the engine compartment. So when a combustion happens, what did we learn? Nitrogen and oxygen will combine to form nitrogen monoxide. Such sort of nitrogen monoxide is seen either in lightning, huge heat is required, or in engines. So before cars were fitted with catalytic converter, carbon monoxide also used to be released to the atmosphere, and nitrogen monoxide also used to be released to the atmosphere. What the catalytic converter does is that catalytic converter will convert the nitrogen monoxide. Every car now has it, everyone, that's a regulation now. It will convert the nitrogen monoxide to nitrogen. Nitrogen you can release into the atmosphere. But there is again another problem. Carbon monoxide is cancerous. So it converts it to CO2. Problem still persists. Though we are no more releasing CO into the atmosphere, we are releasing CO2, which is still considered safer than releasing CO. So CO comes whenever there is incomplete combustion. It may happen in any of, sometimes you're going behind an auto and you'll see, or a truck, huge amount of black fumes have come out. Those are all unburned. Less fuel, the engine is in third class condition, so complete combustion has not taken place and carbon monoxide is being released. So what to do that? It's a toxic gas. Fitting catalytic converters to remove CO. But if you, we'll see the catalytic converter also, but catalytic converter will nullify CO, but it has to give out something. It will give out CO2. So catch is there also. So people say, then what should be the solution? We should have a discussion. What should be the solution? Their car, get to electric. That's one of the solution. Again, the solution is that car, is it a green hydro? One is that we are getting into electric cars, but is it completely green? How did you manufacture the battery? To manufacture the battery in the plant, we used electric power. How did that power come? From the coal power plant. Then again, there's, or else if we are switching back to say hydrogen powered vehicles, is the hydrogen green hydrogen or is it gray hydrogen? Hydrogen vehicles are very costly options right now, right? So, but still that kills out this issue. Are you understanding? Carbon monoxide issue is being taken away. So, or lean burn engines which produce less of CO. Whether you are a lean burn engine or anything, CO2 you will produce. You can't get away with CO2. Then there is another thing called particulates, which we call as in air as ppm. Particulates. It's a small particle in very, very minute size. So particulates like carbon particulates. Carbon particulates, if you are very near to any power plant and after any time you go and you sweep the balcony railing or the parapet of your house, you'll always see some black dust which are coming up, which naked eye you won't get it. But every time it's there. Like if you are in Vizag, and you are near the Vizag port, so you have something called port dust, we say. It comes under your sandals and everything, and every time you do this way, you'll find some sort of dust. That's called port dust. So similarly, particulates, that's what we measure as ppm. What is the parts per million? How much is the particulate content? This is also coming from unburned fuel. So end of the day, if I'm using a diesel vehicle or if I'm using a petrol vehicle, the engine should be very nicely maintained. If the combustion is not happening well, sometimes we think that only the combustion is good if the engine is good. No, your driving practices. Every time you keep pressing the clutch pedal, the leftmost pedal in your car is known as the clutch pedal. Every time you press the clutch pedal, a new air fuel mixture gets into the car. So what happened to the previous air fuel mixture? It was just allowed to go out, burnt or unburnt. Many people have the practice of driving vehicles which are not, say, automatic vehicles, geared ones, they have a habit of putting the leg as a footrest on the clutch. So the clutch plate also wears down. Therefore, cars like Hyundai and all, they will always create a false footrest just beside. Keep your leg here, not here. That's a common practice. Many people, like when you see a speed breaker, you have to brake the car. The first thing they'll do is they'll press the clutch pedal. The clutch does not stop the car, but that's a habit. So good driving habits should also be there. The clutch will always free the engine from the wheels. The engine rotates at a continuous RPM. If you see, your car has got 2 meters. One is the speedometer and one is the odometer. The engine, one will show 2200, 400. That is the engine RPM. It is continuously rotating, but the wheels don't rotate at 2000. So the engine shaft is brought in contact with the wheel shaft through the clutch. So sometimes, suppose if you're going on rumble strips, cut, your wheels are getting jerk. This jerk should not pass on to the engine. So what we do, we press the clutch. This disengages. The engine gets freed. But yeah, when you're changing the gear, we press on the clutch, because otherwise, if you do it without pressing the clutch, the gear tooth will undergo wear and tear. You have to disengage, because the gear is always on the engine. And once the engine picks up speed, the clutch will slowly again pass on the transmission. If you actually press the clutch and after that if you press the accelerator, you'll never see the vehicle proceeding, because the engine has been cut off from the vehicle's transmission. And it's like the clutch and the driven is like a frustum, like this, this is the engine shaft which is moving, and when you press the clutch, it just goes inside like one steel glass inside another steel glass. So mechanics will tell you, आपका चलाना अच्छा नहीं है, clutch plate घिस गया. So you keep pressing the clutch plate too much. But in automatic transmission, we don't have this. That is an automatic. Okay. So particulates, incomplete combustion of carbon containing fuels. This will be in the atmosphere. This is very bad for respiratory trouble. Now, next is adding oxygenates. Now, what is the meaning of the word oxygenate? And oxygenate is a substance which is going to increase the supply of oxygen. Now, why is this particulate coming out? Because of not incomplete combustion, unburned fuel. Are you understanding? So in order to make complete combustion, what will you do? You will add an oxygenate. It's the same principle, like somebody, whenever a firewood, people are using firewood to cook, they will use a pipe to blow air. So you're actually increasing the supply of oxygen. Air blown means more of oxygen. And if you go to, say, namkeen factories who makes all those snacks and namkeens, they might not be using LPG burners, they use diesel burners. So they will have air being blown separately. That's, we call it as lancing. More is the oxygen supply. Have you seen a goldsmith when they work? They'll always use a blowpipe. That's to increase the flow of oxygen. So this was not burning because there was lack of supply of oxygen. So we created a rich environment by adding something called an oxygenator. Now, ethanol is added to petrol to behave as an oxygenate, to create more oxygen so that complete combustion takes place. Are we clear on this now? Right. These things you should know. Methane, we'll spend time on this chart. Methane is another gas. Methane is the main constituent of natural gas, whereas butane is the main constituent of LPG. Now, methane is formed from the decomposition of vegetation and waste gases from the digestion of animals. One of the way people say that if you shift from being non-veg to vegetarians, that is, if you start giving away meat and the demand for meat comes down, then livestock farming also comes down. Are you getting it? Livestock farming coming down means automatically the methane part is coming down, because livestock release a lot of methane. Huge. They are the biggest contributors, and decomposition of vegetation, all from landfills. So what is the way? Do not allow the landfills to have vegetation. Use what is known as composting. Under guard though. You get what you call a natural fertilizer or a natural manure, or you should use an incineration. Do you know what is incineration? Burn it. Again, burning that will also release CO2, but you will not release methane. Composting is best. So capturing methane produced and using it as a fuel, that's what we do in biogas. Either you use it as a fuel or you regenerate to generate electricity when burned. In fact, if you go to some villages, I was seeing a documentary, Pakistan, a lot of villages, they have very nice, this facility. There is cooking gas supply inside, pipe gas supply inside villages is much more prevalent in Pakistan than India. Like we have got pipe gas now in cities like Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad to some extent. We as a big condominium, we also have that. But if you see rural villages having pipe gas supply, so I was saying like interiors of Lahore and all those places, they have got pipe gas supply. And all big farmers, they have their own biogas plant and all these to trap the methane, and with that they are using that as a burner for cooking food also, as well as generation of electricity to some extent. Nitrogen oxides. What are the two nitrogen oxides we said we have to deal with? NO and NO2. Okay, now car engines are the biggest contributor to it. So number one, NO2 and NO, how they come up, let's understand. One, NO will be formed whenever there is a combustion happening of fuel inside the car chamber. To tackle NO, what do we have? We have a catalytic converter. NO2, NO2 will be always there whenever there is diesel and other things that you are releasing into the atmosphere. NO2 will be released into the atmosphere also. Now, as I told in the last class, that Scorpio and other vehicles nowadays have something called AdBlue. There are two tanks. The AdBlue is nothing but a urea solution which absorbs the NO2 and releases what? Nitrogen into the atmosphere. Nitrogen is welcome to us. Why is NO2 dangerous? Because NO2, last class we said that fertilizers, whether they are giving NO2, they will be suspended into the atmosphere, and then rain will fall in the atmosphere. NO2 will cause acid rain, HNO3, nitrous. And another issue, photochemical smog. Photochemical smog we'll be discussing. Photochemical smog is nitrous oxide, unburned hydrocarbons and all these things mixing together and creating smog. Smog is the word which is combination of two words called smoke and fog. Delhi. If anyone goes to Delhi after the period of, the Diwali and all, what you see in Delhi is smog. Visibility goes away. That's not fog. That's smog. It will cause intense eye burning. I hope you all got to know, like 2-3 months back in Delhi, all schools were shut. No school was allowed to function. Even 11, 12, everyone was staying back at home. So that all creates from this. Fitting catalytic converters to remove nitrogen oxides. However, in doing so, more carbon dioxide is produced. Catalytic converters will ensure that no carbon monoxide and nitrogen monoxide gets out, but carbon dioxide you cannot stop. Last comes sulfur dioxide, another of our unwanted gas. We will see the impact of all of these in the next slides also. Sulfur dioxide will be produced whenever you are burning any fossil fuel. In fact, in some of the refineries, we have got a unit called DHDS, dehydro desulfurization unit. They are there in refineries also. But diesel, whenever you are burning, diesel will have sulfur in it, and the sulfur will come out in the form of SO2. So once SO2 is in the atmosphere and rainwater comes down, it will form something which is known as sulfurous acid, H2SO3. And H2SO3, discuss is again an acid. So acid rain, removing sulfur from petrol to produce low sulfur petrol. One is that's, and using flue gas desulfurization unit, which we known as FGD. FGD we will be discussing in detail. Don't worry. At coal burning station, flue gas. So all the fossil fuels that you burn, and after that, whatever flue gases are coming out, they will all contain sulfur dioxide. So let's have a quick recap. Patafat. Carbon dioxide, biggest contributor is all fossil fuels. Understood? Carbon monoxide, incomplete combustion in the combustion chambers of automobiles. Particulates, incomplete combustion of fossil fuels in the engine chamber. Methane, livestock, as well as decay of vegetation. Nitrogen oxides, there are two nitrogen oxides, nitrous oxide and nitrogen dioxide and nitrogen monoxide. Nitrogen monoxide is again forming inside the engine combustion chamber. And NO2, there are two ways. One is washing away of fertilizers, which we saw, but we are learning about not water pollution, we are learning about air pollution. So whatever fuel you use, it will also give you NO2 outside. Sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide is again outcome of any fossil fuel burning, and flue gases which are coming out due to fossil. What are flue gases? Whenever I am burning coal in large scale, carbon dioxide is coming out, and whatever I am releasing into the atmosphere, sulfur dioxide will be there. Our job should be to trap that sulfur dioxide. To trap that sulfur dioxide, we use something called FGD. And FGD we will see in detail. What is FGD? Flue gas desulfurization. Okay. Let's go ahead. Now this is catalytic converter. Now we'll discuss catalytic converter in more detail. In fact, if you bend your head below the floor of a car or the car's bottom chassis, from the exhaust manifold, which is known as in code language as silencer pipe, you'll always see this. This is the catalytic converter. So what does the catalytic converter do? The issues that we have is incomplete combustion of hydrocarbons will give you carbon monoxide and nitrogen 2 oxide formation, which is coming from oxygen and nitrogen from air. Where is this air going in? Try to understand. This air is mixing with petrol and going into the combustion chamber. In that air, I have got oxygen and nitrogen. In a high temperature, these two react to form what? Nitrogen monoxide. This is a endothermic reaction we read in chemical energetics. Okay, this formation also takes place when there is lightning that happens. Now these are the two agents which we need to tackle. Before 1999, cars which we had, we did not have this catalytic converter fitted. This was a costly option. So a catalytic converter will have catalyst, and it also has a material which is actually made up of platinum. So platinum is very costly. So you have a similar catalyst which is palladium or rhodium. This is what is adding to the cost of this catalytic converter. But now there cannot be any vehicle without a catalytic converter in India and abroad also. So what we are doing, we are having nitrogen monoxide and carbon monoxide. Both are combining, and look at the exhaust. Now the exhaust that is coming out of your automobile is nitrogen, which is acceptable to us, and carbon dioxide. Again, down factor, because this is a greenhouse gas. So if you don't want this, don't run the vehicle. But sir, I need to run the vehicle, look for an alternative, electric. Then the question comes, is the practice sustainable? I mean, whatever we are doing, is it a sustainable practice or not? If the practice is not sustainable, then we are doing it just for show purpose. It will not work. So let's see. Catalyst is platinum or similar, palladium or rhodium. Nitrogen monoxide causes respiratory diseases and petroleum smog. We understood, we had learned about, we heard the word petroleum smog in the previous slide. So let's understand what is petroleum smog. Petroleum smog is a serious air pollutant formed in the atmosphere. It will be formed in the atmosphere between gaseous pollutants, sorry, the T is missing, nitrogen oxides and hydrocarbons. Okay, in your book, you will find hydrocarbons being written as CXHY. I hope you know this. This is a generic form of writing hydrocarbon, CH4, C2H6, it's like that. Are we clear on this? Whatever if this catalytic converter was not fitted, you will release nitrogen monoxide into the atmosphere. This nitrogen monoxide is going to react with what? Gaseous pollutants and hydrocarbons, and it will create what is known as petrochemical smog. And this is very, very dangerous for breathing and other problems. Particulates is a general term that we use to describe very small particles in the atmosphere, such as certain type of smoke emitted from diesel engines as well as dust. You all have not seen steam engines, steam locomotives running. Like we in our childhood have seen steam locomotives running. In fact, traveled in train also. I have traveled, which have been run by steam locomotive. So if you stand in the railway station for some time where steam locomotive is shunting for some period, and you come back home and you turn the collar of your shirt, you will see that there is a blackish layer that has formed. That is basically the particulate matter from coal combustion which has taken place. Is that clear now? Not so tough. Everything is easy and melts on. Okay. All the gases we're going to see. Now we're going to see about sulfur dioxide. So sulfur dioxide is coming out from engine fuel combustion, that is from vehicles, and coal and oil combustion, heavy industry or power stations. Try to understand what is. See, this is a very compressed note that has been made. If you read this, this is more than enough for your exam. And this has been taken away from your textbook only. So let's understand. Sulfur dioxide. What are the sources? Engine fuel combustion. So whenever there's a combustion of engine fuel taking place, whether you are running a petrol or a diesel vehicle, you will be giving out sulfur dioxide. Another way is coal and oil combustion, right? Fuel oil, furnace oil. So industries, like there are many industries which are not tier 1 industries. They don't worry that much about quality. Like there will be some plywood industry, some bakeries and other things. They will be running on furnace oil, FO they'll say. Furnace oil. Furnace oil, coal, they will all release sulfur dioxide, which is coming from heavy industry and power stations. Power stations will give you sulfur dioxide. Second is acid rain. Acid rain, rainwater dissolves all oxides in the atmosphere. So whatever oxide, rainwater is dissolving all oxides. So carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide. So from here, if you dissolve, so you get carbonic acid, H2CO3. From here, you get sulfurous acid, H2SO3. This will give you nitric acid, HNO3. So the rainwater's pH, you know what is pH? Acid, bases, and salts. So if the pH is less, right? pH is a scale where 7 is said to be neutral. If the pH is more on this side, you are acidic. More on this side, you are basic. pH 14 means highly basic. The normal rainfall is said to have a pH of 5.1, means you are more or less near to neutral. Out now in Europe and other countries, the pH has fallen to around 3.4, means you have become far more acidic. This t-shirt which I am wearing, say suppose I am wearing this t-shirt in Mumbai or Delhi, and the first rain has come, and that day if I get wet with this t-shirt and you come back home, I got wet in rain, right? So it should be all water droplets. Everything will be yellow, yellow, yellow in color, as if food was, but it was not rain. It was acid rain. So once 3 or 4 days of continuous downfall has happened, after that go and get drenched into the rain, no issues. But when the first rain happens in summer, like an idiot, don't go out and enjoy the rain. It's all acid rain that is taking place. 100%. So much of dust is there around. Look at the amount of vehicles. Like 2 or 3 days back, we travel in cars, so we don't realize. So I had to drop my daughter in a zone for her exam center, which is like, you can't take the car inside, you'll get all trust. So we went by our two-wheeler. Okay, so when we are stopping, I'm in fact right at High-Tech City's junction, right at High-Tech City's junction. And I'm just thinking how hot it is right in the morning, not because the temperature, the atmospheric heat, is just because so much of vehicles in and around you. In a car, you don't feel it because you're sitting in an AC environment. So there's a truck, there's a bus. Whenever the scooter stops, the heat is unbearable and so much of dust. So once the traffic opens up, you again feel very comfortable. You start thinking after you cross Gachibowli crossroads, and you say if you cross Narsingi to Pebble City, the ride is very comfortable in a two-wheeler because you've got lots of forest out here and that much of pollution is not there. But beyond that, when you go to the city, it becomes very hot. And once you have come back home and you have taken out your t-shirt, you just dust this t-shirt, or else you take the t-shirt, put it on the floor if your bathroom is having a white tile, and use your faucet pipe and just wet it, and you see the water that comes out of the t-shirt. That is the amount of dust you are carrying it. Rather, we should use the word particulate matter. Now suppose if it rains, out there should be some oxides of carbon, some oxides of sulfur and nitrogen. So don't you think you're carrying acid with you? Obviously. Much less, but if you are in an industrial city, it is much, much high. Like in Delhi, long back, I mean, it's being more than, I think 2000 and back 2000, they stopped all diesel vehicles. No, diesel vehicles means no public transport can be diesel. There is no buses and all in Delhi, all are CNG, compressed natural gas. You don't have diesel vehicles. Which one? Natural gas. So you will release the CO2 will be, but the sulfur dioxide and other things won't be there. It's a gas combustion. Otherwise, we have seen horrible conditions of Delhi. You come and spit on the wash basin, you spit, black spit comes out. Horrible is to be the condition. All buses. That's the reason in Delhi, diesel vehicles are not allowed more than 10 years old. So all these vehicles get sold on this part. Here you will get very cheap Mercedes, BMW and all, which come from Delhi registered. Because there, after 10 years, like the rule out here in other states is what, if in Bombay, the rule is, if you have a diesel vehicle, the permit is for 15 years. After 15 years, you can extend it. But in Delhi, now the rule is only 10 years. After 10 years, no more extension. Sir, what do I do with my Mercedes? Becho, bahar nikalo, jo bhi ho, get it out. So those cars, you get at a very nice rate because they're just 10 years old. They still have life in this part of the city. So they get sold out here now. That's also one big business segment. Okay, right. So now, reduction of, so in order to reduce acid rain, what should we do? We should reduce NO2 by catalytic exhaust system, okay? And FGD. FGD, the meaning of FGD is flue gas desulfuration, okay? Desulfurization rather. That means whatever flue gases are coming out, I am supposed to trap that sulfur dioxide from there. These are very costly units and these prevent emission of SO2. Now, how do they work? Let's understand. You have a flue gas, understand what happens. So we have a power plant where flue gases are coming out. These flue gases are first made to pass through a calcium oxide slurry. Calcium oxide means CaO and slurry means there is some water also. So it is CaOH2. So calcium oxide slurry. This calcium oxide slurry is going to remove the flue gas. Right? It will remove the flue gas and it creates, the slurry turns into something called calcium sulfite. Calcium oxide reacts with the sulfur dioxide, forms calcium sulfite, which is CaSO3. It is the lower oxidation state. And then it oxidizes further to form CaSO4, calcium sulfate. Now there is a very nice use of this. Okay. Have you all seen in your houses, when you go to your bathrooms, the false ceilings, do you see there are boards in the false ceiling, square boards, and if water gets into it, they just become soggy. Sometimes when your geyser or anything leaks, the entire board is going to fall down. Many people here call them as gypsum boards. They replace it also. Are you understanding? False ceilings and other things, like right now outside your house where you have your internet connection, there's a small door like thing. That plastic board is, that plaster board, not plastic board, plaster board is a byproduct of this entire process. So I have got my flue gas, I make it pass through a calcium oxide slurry. The flue gas, the sulfur dioxide from the flue gas is trapped out. That sulfur dioxide reacts with the calcium slurry, and this calcium slurry will be getting converted to calcium sulfite, which further oxidizes to form calcium sulfate. And this is used as a plaster board and sold. That plaster board unit is mandatory. Why mandatory? In order to support the economics of this particular unit. Otherwise, this unit is very costly. इसको बेच के पैसा मिलता है, which helps me run this unit. Are you understanding? So this is something which has found a huge acceptance in the construction industry. All false ceilings as well as bathroom ceilings. In your bathroom, if you go, you'll see all 2 feet by 2 feet boards. Every board can be lifted. Make sure those never get wet. They're all these, which are actually manufactured from a byproduct of a process. And why do we do that? That is done because this finds a huge amount of acceptance, as well as this helps to run the economics of an FGD. Flue gas desulfurization units. Where does the flue gas originate from? Any sort of fossil fuel which is burned. Where is the fossil fuel burned? Power plants, industries, as well as in engine combustions. We cannot do anything in engine combustions, but yes, in power plants and all, FGDs are installed. Right. Now let's see the greenhouse effect. We have discussed about it. So this is the greenhouse effect explained in your book. So you have the sun, some of the energy will be absorbed and some energy will be radiated back. Now, if you have an agent out here who also promotes absorption, but not radiation, then that agent is going to cause warming of the earth. Unfortunately, carbon dioxide is a gas which behaves like that. And that gas is known as a greenhouse gas. And it's not only about carbon dioxide, methane is also a big contributor to the greenhouse effect. So global warming, atmospheric gases that trap the sun's heat and make the earth warmer are known as greenhouse gases and cause the greenhouse effect. What is the impact of greenhouse effect? The average temperature of the earth rises up, and that is known as global warming. Higher levels of carbon dioxide lead to increasing global warming, which will lead to climate changes. What is the climate change? First of all, unbalanced seasons, then melting of the polar ice and the ice caps melting, and low-lying areas facing a continuous threat of having flood or other getting submerged. Right. So methane is also a big contributor. Methane is released from agricultural waste, released from landfill sites. Landfill sites means, do you understand? Mass garbage disposal which happens. Those are known as landfill sites as well as rice fields. So there was a nice, data which was released, like in our society. We are trying to go through those emails. These are very interesting, and we don't expect, my generation doesn't change. At least your generation can change. So there's a lot of talk which says that's waste segregation. None of us do. If you go walk across the corridor, you'll still see, and if fines are imposed, then people become angry. Your waste is you have created. Segregate means wet waste goes in one place, dry waste goes in one place, bio waste goes in one place, recyclable goes in one place. Okay. So of all the tons and tons of waste that we release from our housing society, the sad part is only a very small fraction could be recycled. Rest all went where? To some landfill only, designated landfill. Now, who is responsible? Could we have not done this simple practice? And today I am telling you some practices which you can start. We all buy milk, right? Half packet milk comes in half-liter packs. How do you empty milk? We all make a corner cut. Don't cut. Just make a small slit. The more you cut, you are increasing more plastic into the atmosphere. That small cut, when you have a milk packet, suppose this is a milk packet and you're cutting it at this portion, this small triangle which has come out, for 50,000 years also it will remain as plastic. Rather, you cut it from here, hold it and try to empty the milk packet. Small things which you can do. And put this milk packet into your recyclable bag, which we have here as Bintix or goodie bag. Okay. And then all your Amazon boxes which come, it can go there. If you are using kitchen towel, put that kitchen towel also into the blue packet or into your this, and use your food waste into your green basket. Now what people are doing, they think that the paper is recyclable, they put it there also, but that does not go into the compost. The machine gets choked up. We have a machine out here which will actually churn everything and create compost. And if you want to see, go to the STP someday. There are the housekeeping people maintain a lot of flower plants which have grown by the compost created from us. These things our children in our society itself doesn't know. If you go to the STP plant, you'll see a lot of flower pots out there. And they give you manure, this compost also, free of cost. Just bring your bag and take it. It's just behind your K Tower. That area, yeah. So you have so many flower pots and flower plants which are growing by the compost that is created from our own society. So people are so ignorant. What they will do, they will just take one carry bag and put all the trash into it. Still, the poor housekeeping fellow who comes in the morning, he takes your waste paper, waste basket, empties it, and he does it. He's illiterate. He is doing the literate job. We being literate have done the illiterate job. So sad part is waste segregation is still not happening. They all happen in books, extempore speech and debates. We are not doing them. If we do them, we can actually recycle. We can recycle a lot and lot. And you all keep on reading 4 R's: reuse, recycle, regenerate, and all. Reduce, right? So methane is also factors contributing to the increased level of CO2. Number 1 is deforestation. More forest you cut, less of the CO2 will be absorbed. That's why they say on summers, if you go to a forest area, it feels cool because a lot of the CO2 has been taken away and the heat is also taken away. Pollution of our rivers and ocean. Now, this fact, just try to understand. If you have more pollution in rivers, water is what we are learning, air pollution. Why is this factor of rivers and ocean coming up? If you have more pollution in rivers and ocean by any sort of contaminant, water is a very good solvent. So water now has no more space left in it to trap carbon dioxide. Are you understanding? There is carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And we said that water will also take carbon dioxide when it's coming down as rain. After that, if other pollutants come out, the carbon dioxide again gets released. Then fossil fuels used by the industry and transport. This we cannot, this is the biggest point of rapid industrialization. You learn it. What happens early morning when you board the bus? So many parents are taking their children in two-wheelers and cars just to the bus stand. I'm ruthless when I speak there. And then you'll find one fine day some painting competition on Earth Save Day, and they'll come to our titanium tower. I stopped that. And they'll put all their paintings displayed. Children have made this. Mother Earth, Save Earth does. अब Monday क्या कर रहा है? Two-wheeler में जा रहा है bus stand तक. That's not required, right? You can walk to the bus stand. Continued gradual melting of the of ice cap. It should be okay. There should be of ice caps and consequent flooding of low-lying lands. Is that clear? So let's see the next. Now, how do you reduce global warming effects? global warming. Now this, plant more trees. The more trees you plant, the more carbon dioxide you are absorbing from the atmosphere, right? Burn less fossil fuels. Again, very good to say. But for a developing country, it's not possible. They will burn fossil fuel. These are all good pep talks when you come to a developed geography. But if you're a developing geography, you need the industry to mature. So biodiesel is the alternative sustainable. So our hunt should be for sustainability. Do something. If you're finding an alternative, is the alternative sustainable? That's a very nice question. Yes, it is. It's made from waste plant material and animals, oils and fat. Advantages: produces less of CO2. But again, understand, anything bio means there will be CO2. You can't avoid it. But produces less of CO. CXHY means hydrocarbons, SO2 and particulates than diesel fuel. This is biodiesel. Disadvantage: NO emissions are higher than from standard diesel fuel. That means, again, catalytic converter. Yeah. Ethanol. Ethanol works as what? An oxygen, something which is going to supply more of oxygen. Now, ethanol is open to debate. Now we have got ethanol fueled buses also which run. Ethanol fuel buses run in Maharashtra also, but open to debate since large amount of energy and land are required. Brazil is doing a lot of work in it because you need, ethanol is coming from where? Sugarcane plantation, and sugarcane needs huge amount of area. Is a country able to spare that much amount of area? First of all. Second is highly flammable. Storage of ethanol is dangerous. Less CO. This is a wonderful alternative, but less CO, less SO2, NOx are produced than put. Replantation, sugarcane creates a cycle as it absorbs CO2. See, everything is good with ethanol. Ethanol does not give out any of these, very less. Plus, when you are planting sugarcane, you are actually creating forest, which will again take up a lot of CO2. But the problem is, a lot of energy and land is required to cultivate sugarcane. Energy is required for fermentation and cultivation. This much of sugarcane will not give you any ethanol. You need mass, huge mass. So hydrogen, and one of the plant that is now being researched is bamboo. Bamboo's growth rate is very fast. Now hydrogen. Hydrogen is sustainable only if the electricity, this we have read in last class also, only if the electricity, hydrogen is produced from what? Electrolysis. Now to conduct electrolysis, you are needing electricity. How did you produce the electricity? That is the question. Did you, if you are doing it from batteries, then how did you bring the batteries? So one of the way would be, can we make this electrolysis electricity from renewable sources of energy? But question arises, dependence is still, you can't depend on them. Tidal energy, hawa hoga to hi kaam hoga, hai na? Solar energy, they do not give you that much of output. So it's from a renewable source such as solar power or wind. Car shown in figure is powered by hydrogen. That is whatever car was shown. Water is the only product of production, hence there is no pollution. The cleanest fuel. But hydrogen is highly explosive and storage is very dangerous because it's a high pressure storage. The ways of reducing global warming are energy efficiency practices. What is an energy efficiency practice? Like when Kirtan leaves the house, do not switch off the light. Let the AC be on. The other day I was seeing a reel in Instagram. The mother comes and tells the girl, give food to grandma. Grandma is waiting. Give her water. So the girl opens the door and says, grandma is not there. No, grandma is there. Give her water. Ask if she's hungry or not. The girl still says, but there is no one inside the room. Then the mother gives one slap. Then why did you switch on the light and fan? Somebody was sitting inside. Air conditioners usage, geyser usage. You'll go for a bath 1 hour from now and the geyser is turned on. So energy efficient practices, switching to renewable sources. Renewable sources means sources, you know what is renewable? Anything that can be renewed back in your lifetime. Those are known as renewable sources. And reduce livestock farming. Now this requires a lifestyle change. Get into vegetarian, reduce the dependency on meat. The more you reduce the dependency on meat, slowly and slowly it comes up. But I think, when they start debating, you should get, once you start cross 40 and all, your mind thought also goes in such a way that if you are non-vegetarian by diet, see, I've been non-vegetarian by diet right from my childhood. And my eyes used to lit up the day I used to hear that today there is mutton or chicken being cooked in my house. Right now, if somebody eats chicken in front of me and doesn't give me share a little bit with me also, Doesn't bother me at all. So if somebody tells me now, can you live without chicken and meat for 10, 12, 15 days? No issues. But if you would have asked me the same question at your age, difficult. So have it when it is needed. After that, you can slowly cut down. But cut down my problem, what happens? Suppose if me and my wife suddenly now cut down, the saddest face in the whole house will be of my daughter. What is the offense that I have done on earth? So it becomes like that. Right. So that's it in a nutshell.